Well, everybody's favorite regulatory body, the SEC, doesn't want you to see some information. I'm going to tell you in this video what they're actually doing in the case versus Ripple to try and hide more information. And no, we're not just talking about the Bill Hinman emails. This involves all of their experts that they want to introduce to the case against Ripple. And according to James Filan, Ripple's response was basically a brawl. So I'm going to go over that news in this video. Also, we're going to take a look at some of the macroeconomics hitting the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency world right now as Bitcoin looks to range this week. But I'm going to tell you what Wall Street is now predicting for a Bitcoin price. Some of you are not going to like it, and others of you will, and I'm going to tell you why. Hey everyone, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. Right now on this channel, we're covering the Ripple versus the SEC case, as well as other cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, make sure you go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and join the Late Night Grind community. Also, if you do three things, I'd appreciate it. Smash the thumbs up button, watch this video all the way to the end, and of course, check out my Patreon, link in the description below. All right, guys, let's jump into it. All right, so first let's talk about what is going on economically and with the price of Bitcoin, because Bloomberg just came out with a survey, and in it a lot of professional institutional investors answered this survey. They gave their thoughts on Bitcoin. Some of it had to do with future price of Bitcoin. Now, this is one thing that you have to take a little bit with a grain of salt, because a Bloomberg investor report, typically it's going to be old school money, old school investors, and a lot of the people answering these questions don't necessarily believe in cryptocurrencies. In fact, one of the answers that they talked about was essentially how much they believe in Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency world. And according to this survey, 75% of the respondents have some form of skepticism, all the way from it's basically a scam to, well, we do have some things to think about, some skepticisms, but we're involved anyway. Only 25%, according to this survey, believe that cryptocurrencies are the future. So 25% is a reasonable amount, and in my opinion, we're going to see that number grow over the next couple of years, especially if Bitcoin jumps on a bull run, sets new all-time high. That number may get as high as 50%. But nonetheless, those respondents said, looking at what Bitcoin is doing right now and the economic backdrop, the respondents, 60% of them said they anticipate Bitcoin going down to $10,000. Now, it may only be briefly. In fact, some of them said $8,000 or even $7,000 is possible. And not only that, I've actually seen some technical analysts, a crypto technical analyst, say $7,000 to $8,000 is possible from a technical perspective. It may take some sort of black swan event to get it there, but nonetheless, Wall Street agrees with them, at least the majority of them, that said, listen, I think there's going to be a lot more pain for Bitcoin to come. Not all of them felt that. Some of them feel like 17.5 was the bottom, and we are going to continue upward from here, albeit in a consolidation manner. But in fact, Mike Novogratz, who's a huge cryptocurrency maxi, I'll call it, crypto billionaire, he said there could be a lot more pain in the crypto markets come before a long-term capitulation. But what does he know? He got a tattoo of Terra Luna on his shoulder. So we're going to be looking at a few big things this week, because the CPI numbers come out on Wednesday, the inflation numbers for the month of June. Typically, this sends the price of most of the markets tanking the first hour or so that the markets are open that day. Bitcoin usually front runs the rest of those markets and telling you where it's going to go, but it also matches the rest of those markets. Typically, it's been south. So here's the thing. It's shaping up so that Bitcoin has essentially been in an ascending triangle, which is a technical trading pattern formation that it's been shaping up for the past couple of weeks. It's getting a little bit tightened, but basically what it means is Bitcoin is going to be trading between $19,000 and $22,000, at least for the rest of this week, according to this chart pattern. Now, here's the thing. These CPI numbers come out on Wednesday morning. It's shaping up that over the next day and a half to 2 days, Bitcoin could be approaching that lower part of the ascending triangle, which is a support line that it needs to bounce off of in order to continue to stay in this trading pattern and continue its upward movement. Well, if it coincides that Wednesday morning, Bitcoin is hovering right along that lower, very bottom support point, those CPI numbers could absolutely crack it, and you could see a big, large red candle shoot straight down, completely obliterate that pattern, because that could be the catalyst that could send Bitcoin back down to 17,500 very quickly. In fact, it could drop even lower. According to some, 14,000 is absolutely in the cards. before it makes its upturn. All right, so now let's get into what the SEC is trying to hide from me, from you, from literally everybody in the public view, and it shouldn't be any shock to you by now. If you've been following this case, the SEC just wants to hide literally everything. So they want to hide more stuff. Ripple responded with what James Filan said, basically called it a brawl of a response, because Ripple is just having none of it, but nonetheless they have to follow the procedures of the court. So here's what's happened. The SEC and Ripple both have what they call expert reports, expert testimonies on what they believe the mindset of XRP and its holders are or were at the time of purchase. There's a whole bunch of information that we don't know about yet that these experts are holding. So what the SEC is seeking to do is basically keep all of their experts and their testimony and their reports completely sealed and private from public view. Ripple is not having any of it because they submitted a letter to the judge and said, listen, we've been working with the SEC over the past 5 days to try and come up with a compromise in which they're going to submit some of the reports or the names of their experts for public knowledge. In fact, Ripple is going to do the same thing. The SEC was having none of it. They want all 5 of their experts to be sealed. So the names, the testimonies, reports, nobody in the public will actually get to see it. And according to some, they are calling this this view from the SEC an extremist view. They got that from Ripple's letter to the judge, to Judge Torres. So at this point, until the judge declares that these experts have to be submitted publicly and don't have to be sealed, Ripple has to follow what the SEC is doing in terms of keeping them sealed, at least until the judge makes a decision on it. In other words, nobody's ever going to get to see what these professional experts, their reports, and their testimonies have to say about XRP and its sales, at least with what Ripple was doing. So Ripple says, okay, fine. In order to do this, we're going to speed up this process. So they wrote a letter to the judge saying, listen, here's a proposed timeline in which this process gets done in 2 weeks. We want this done in 2 weeks. It basically goes over Ripple and the SEC meeting and conferring on information that's going to be included in these reports, information that needs to be redacted, some things that the SEC might want redacted, things that Ripple might want redacted, things like business processes, things like that they don't want public. And then actually come and confer on these, and then anything that they object to, they will have they'll have to submit letters to the judge on their objections, and that'll have to be done by July 25th. So Ripple wants this done in 2 weeks, which I know probably sounds like a long time, but in terms of the courts in this case, that seems like a very quick turnaround. And so before actually coming up with this timeline, Ripple spent a couple paragraphs basically ripping the SEC apart in terms of why they're trying to hide all these expert reports, saying the SEC is just trying to hide the names of their experts and the reports from public criticisms, which is completely ridiculous and contrary to what this case is supposed to be about, because the SEC is all about protecting investors, right? So we're going to see what Judge Torres has to say to Ripple regarding this new timeline. She may approve it, she may object to it, but this just plays right into exactly what Ripple's been saying all along. The SEC is just trying to hide more information, and not only are they trying to hide their own information from their own expert reports, they're trying to limit how many witnesses and what they can say in terms of what Ripple's going to be presenting to this case. Make sure you subscribe to the Late Night Grind, as soon as more information comes out, I'd be happy to convey that to you. You can also follow me on Twitter. A lot of the information that I talk about on these videos, I retweet, talk about some of the analysis on there as well. So if you haven't followed me on Twitter, you can follow me. So let me know what you guys think. Is this something that the judge is going to give in Ripple's favor and at least speed up this process on getting some of this resolved in the next 2 weeks, and hopefully making it so that the SEC has to publicly give the names of their experts, their testimonies, and their reports? My guess is if she says they have to become public, that some of them may not come out at all. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. All right, guys, I really appreciate you watching this video all the way to the end, for smashing that thumbs up button, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.